Hello, this is Positive Light and it's Bob speaking, and with me today is Chris Campbell, and we're at the Gay Men's Health Summit, and I've invited Chris to my room, and she's come to talk about some of her work and blogging and stuff like that. Now, first thing I'm going to ask you, Chris, you're at the Gay Men's Summit, but you're not a gay man, you're a woman, you're not even a lesbian. What are you doing at the Gay Men's Summit?
One of the things a couple of years ago that came up was the idea that we thought that it would be a good idea if support and education came together, so that in areas such as pause prevention, for example, that there was a role also for educators and for support workers. And so as a support worker, I was invited to the Gay Men's Health Summit and quickly realized I was one of maybe 20 out of 100, one woman out of, per 20 men that were there. But I think that it's been a really good education for me, and also just for making the links between those two programs.
Good. And I should mention too, I didn't say at the outset, that you're my support worker.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I haven't given you a hard time so far, have I?
It's all good.
Good. Now, you read blogs, I know, and you've had a look at Positive Light. Tell me what you think.
I have traditionally thought that blogs have been rather boring, that people have been just sort of, espousing whatever they want to about themselves on it. But in actual fact, I've lately been realizing the difference between really good blogs and blogs that are not so good. In terms of Positive Light, I've been thinking, it's been my belief that it's very funny. It's very fun. It takes the seriousness of HIV and sort of the lighthearted part of HIV and blends it together in a way that makes it really readable. And in fact, I've sent out the link to the people in our catchment area, and have also received some positive feedback about it. So
That's
I
good to
think I
hear.
was right to know.
I guess it introduces that Positive Light is doing something different in that traditionally we haven't really overutilized, at least, humor in talking about HIV. It's a heavy subject. We tend to treat it seriously. How do you think it is a good fit that we can sort of combine humor and HIV? How does that strike you?
You know what? It's just the reality. I mean, you talk to anybody living with HIV, and they will also be able to see the humor in amongst what are some of the darkest moments of it. And so I think that we just have to say that is part of the life experience of people living with HIV, that there are a lot of really heavy, dark moments, but there are also actually moments that can bring people together and really make them laugh. We see this all the time in our support group in Peterborough, that people are just laughing around their own sort of predicaments at times, and actually I think it's really healing.
Mm-hmm.
A number of years ago, I did a newsletter article on the use of humor as a way of coping, and I got a number of phone calls following the publication of the newsletter, because people said, "Oh, thank goodness you're finally talking about something that's just a little bit lighter." And so in all of that spirit, I think that there's a real role for humor, not taking away from the seriousness of it, but of HIV, but also that there is a role for it, and that I have even the idea of Positive Light having that name is just a really good direction, I think, to go.
And too, Brian has said that a lot of positive guys, and gay men in particular, tend to be funny guys, and you've probably found that too.
Yeah,
We have a sense of
absolutely
humor,
true. Yes.
and we use it whether we're positive or not.
Yeah.
Good. Just a question about the work you do. You've obviously had some fun times, but a lot of your work is also pretty heavy and dealing with serious issues. Just a serious question, because sometimes we get into serious issues on Positive Light. even though it's not our nature. How do you leave that behind when you go home after dealing, because you counsel people with HIV, you talk to newly diagnosed people in pretty difficult circumstances, but you also have your life of your own. And how do you deal with that? Are you able to switch it off and enjoy regular times, regular TV and all that stuff when you get home?
What happens, I think, for me is that for the transition from walking into the house after coming in from work is that I have certain activities that I do to help me transition from my workday into my home life. And so I do those, and it's sort of a symbolic gesture of sort of leaving things behind and moving into the things that I like to do. Some of those things are meditative things, such as, painting, or I also like to read, and so there are things that sort of take you out of where you are and bring you somewhere else, and that's also really helpful too. And so I would say that maybe about 80% of the time I do that really effectively, but sometimes it's just, of course, I'm human, and sometimes I come home and there'll be something sitting with me, and I try to honor that feeling in some way. And so I may, on occasion, do a little bit of work in the evening just to sort of try to wrap something up, or just go, tonight's the night that I can't leave it behind, because this is actually really huge, and I'm not going to leave it behind tonight, but it doesn't go on forever. You just acknowledge that this is the night that I'm not going to be able to do that.
So that's good. So you've been doing this work a long time, haven't you, Chris? How many years?
I started in March 92, so it will be 18 years
Wow,
next
that's
month.
a long time.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you just a few questions, because in Positive Light we feel people are whole people, and they do a lot of things besides their work. So here's a bunch of random questions that I'm going to throw at you. I know you like music, and I think I know the answer to this, but who's your favorite rock and roll star?
Bruce Springsteen.
What's your favorite color?
Green.
What kind of food do you like best?
I like avocados, Indian food, and Italian food.
In that order.
Not necessarily.
What do you think of Adam Lambert?
Love Adam Lambert. Although, got the new CD and liked probably half of it and didn't like the other half, but like him.
And who don't you like?
Who don't I like? I don't know. I can't think of anybody offhand.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Chris, the whole person, thank you very much, and thank you for talking to Positive Light.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Bob.